Hello, everyone. Get comfortable. Maybe dim the lights a little. Tonight, we sail back more than 300 years, to a time when the world map still had blank spaces, and the ocean felt endless and wild. We are standing on the deck of a wooden ship in the late 1600s. The boards beneath your feet are rough. They creak softly as the waves lift and lower the hull. The air smells of salt, tar, and wet rope. Above you, sails stretch like pale clouds, pulling the ship forward. This is the golden age of piracy. Now, when most people hear pirate, they imagine dramatic sword fights, buried treasure, and someone shouting "Error" every few minutes. You can thank movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl for that. Great movie, very dramatic, excellent eyeliner. But real pirate life? Much less eyeliner, much more hard work. To understand pirates, we first need to understand their world. In the late 17th century, powerful European kingdoms were fighting over trade and territory. Countries like England, France, and Spain were building colonies across the Atlantic. They wanted sugar from the Caribbean, silver from the Americas, spices from Asia, and anything else that could be packed into a wooden ship and sold for profit. The Caribbean Sea became one of the busiest highways in the world. Massive Spanish treasure fleets sailed from the New World back to Europe, heavy with gold and silver. Merchant ships moved between islands, carrying sugar, tobacco, rum, and enslaved people in brutal conditions. Where there is wealth moving slowly across open water, there is temptation. But here is something important. Not all pirates started as criminals. Many began as sailors in national navies or merchant ships. Life for a regular sailor in the 1600s was harsh. Pay was low. Food was bad. Discipline was strict. Captains could whip men for small mistakes. Disease was common. Ships were crowded. And if a sailor complained too much, well, the sea is very deep. During times of war, governments issued letters of marque. These were official documents allowing private ships to attack enemy vessels. These sailors were called privateers. Legally, they were not pirates. They were patriotic businessmen with cannons. But wars do not last forever. When peace treaties were signed, many privateers suddenly found themselves unemployed. They still had ships. They still had weapons. And they were very used to attacking other ships. So some of them kept going. The line between privateer and pirate was thin. Sometimes it was just a piece of paper. One day you are a legal hero. The next day, without the right permission, you are an outlaw. And for many men, piracy offered something rare in the 17th century: choice. On most Navy ships, the captain ruled like a king. On pirate ships, things were different. Captains were often elected. Crew members could vote on major decisions. Loot was divided according to agreed shares. It was not perfect democracy, but compared to Navy life, it felt surprisingly fair. Of course, this did not make pirates gentle philosophers. They were still violent criminals. They robbed ships. They threatened crews. Sometimes they were brutal, but they were also organized. And they were practical. The so-called Golden Age of piracy lasted roughly from the 1650s to the 1720s. It was not golden because it was peaceful. It was golden because piracy was widespread and, for a short time, profitable. Famous pirate havens developed in places like Nassau in the Bahamas. There, pirates could repair ships, trade stolen goods, and enjoy a break from life at sea. Taverns were busy. Rum flowed freely. Stories grew taller with each retelling. You might have heard names like Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach. He was known for tying slow-burning fuses into his beard during battle, creating smoke around his face. Very dramatic, slightly terrifying, probably not great for skincare. But for every famous pirate, there were hundreds of ordinary sailors whose names we do not remember. Young men from poor backgrounds, former Navy sailors, escaped servants. Some were from Africa, some from Europe, some from the Caribbean islands themselves. Pirate crews were often more diverse than national navies. On many pirate ships, free black sailors worked alongside Europeans and sometimes received equal shares of loot. In a world built on rigid hierarchies, that was unusual. Still, let us gently remove one more myth. Most pirates did not bury treasure. Treasure, when taken, was usually in the form of cargo. Sugar, cocoa, textiles, spices, maybe silver coins. These were sold quickly. Pirate life was risky. You did not hide wealth for 20 years. You spent it before someone caught you. And many pirates were caught. Navies eventually grew stronger. Trade routes became more protected. Governments offered pardons to pirates who surrendered. Others were hunted down and executed as a warning. The Golden Age was intense but brief. Yet it left a deep mark on history and on our imagination. But tonight, we are not focusing on dramatic chases or courtroom trials. We are not watching a pirate captain shout orders in the middle of cannon smoke. Instead, we are going to slow down, because most of pirate life was not battle. It was routine. It was swabbing decks at sunrise. It was repairing torn sails. It was eating the same dry biscuit for the 100th time. It was standing watch at night, staring at the stars, wondering what waits beyond the horizon. It was long days of wind and water. And that is where our journey truly begins. In the next chapter, we will step fully onto the ship itself, this floating wooden world that creaks, breathes, and carries its crew across the restless sea. For now, listen to the waves. They rise, they fall, and somewhere in the dark distance, a sail shifts gently in the wind. Chapter 2, The Pirate Ship, a floating wooden world. Now let us step fully aboard. The pirate ship is not huge. Not the kind you see in big movies with 3 towering decks and endless rows of cannons. Most 17th century pirates preferred smaller vessels. Fast ones, light ones, ships like sloops and brigantines. Easy to steer, quick to escape, quick to chase. Speed was survival. The ship beneath your feet is made of oak and pine. Thick wooden planks form the hull. Every board was shaped by hand, every nail hammered in place without modern machines. When the wind pushes against the sails, the entire structure groans softly. It sounds almost alive, like the ship is clearing its throat. It swells when wet, it shrinks when dry, so the ship is always adjusting, always shifting. If you stand still for a moment, you can feel it. A gentle tilt to the left, a slow lift upward, then a steady drop as the wave passes. Even in calm weather, the sea never truly rests. The deck is simple, open, practical. At the back of the ship stands the quarterdeck, slightly raised. This is where the captain often stands. From here, he can see most of the vessel. He can watch the sails, the crew, the horizon. Below the quarterdeck is the captain's cabin. Do not imagine luxury. It is small, a narrow bed, a wooden desk, maybe a chest for maps or personal items. Compared to the crew's space, it is comfortable. Compared to a house on land, it is barely a room. Toward the front of the ship is the forecastle. Sailors sometimes sleep there or store supplies. The word sounds fancy. The space is not. In the middle of the ship, mounted along the sides, sit the cannons. Heavy iron guns resting on wooden carriages. When fired, they shake the entire vessel. But most days they sit quietly, covered to protect them from salt spray. Beneath the main deck lies the hold. This is where cargo is stored. Barrels of food, water casks, powder for cannons, bare rope, sometimes captured goods. Smells damp down there. A mix of mold, salt, wood, and whatever happens to be leaking that week. The air is thick. Not much light reaches below deck. Only small lanterns glow in the darkness. Shadows move as the ship sways. And then there are the ropes. So many ropes. They stretch from deck to mast, from mast to sail, crisscrossing overhead in complex patterns. Each rope has a name. Each has a purpose. Pull the wrong one at the wrong time, and you may regret it very quickly. The masts rise tall above you, wooden pillars holding the sails high into the wind. When the canvas catches a strong gust, it snaps loudly. A sharp crack that echoes across the water can make a new sailor jump. The older ones barely blink. The sails themselves are thick and heavy, made of canvas, stitched carefully. When they are lowered, they smell of salt and sun. When they are raised, they billow like giant wings. Now imagine living here, not visiting, living. There is very little privacy. The crew sleeps in hammocks strung below deck, rows of them, swinging gently back and forth. When one sailor turns over, the entire line shifts slightly. Personal space is a rare treasure. Clothes are simple, loose shirts, breeches, boots when available. Many sailors go barefoot on deck for better grip. Salt dries on their skin. Hair grows long. Beards grow thick. Bathing is not a daily habit. Fresh water is too valuable for that. The smell aboard ship is noticeable. Salt air mixes with sweat. Tar used to seal the deck adds a sharp scent. Cooking smoke drifts from a small galley stove. Sometimes there is the faint sour smell of damp wood that never fully dries. And yet, after a few weeks at sea, sailors hardly notice. The ship becomes their world. There are no streets, no fields, no quiet houses, just wood and water, sky and horizon. At night, the deck changes character. Lanterns cast warm circles of light. The sea reflects the moon like moving glass. The ropes hum softly in the wind. If you lie on your back and look up, you can see stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. Far from city lights, the sky feels enormous. During storms, this peaceful world transforms. The deck becomes slippery. Waves crash over the sides. Water rushes across the planks. The ship leans at angles that feel impossible. Men shout over the roar of wind. But even then, the structure holds. Built to bend, not break. Every part of the ship has a purpose. The pump removes water that leaks into the hull. Because ships always leak a little. The carpenter checks for cracks. The bosun inspects ropes and sails. Constant care keeps the vessel alive. You begin to understand something important. A pirate ship is not just transportation. It is a floating village, a workplace, a home, prison, a shield. For weeks or months at a time, the crew cannot step off. If the wind is good and supplies last, they may stay at sea for long stretches. The ship becomes the only stable ground they know. Some sailors even grow uneasy when they return to land. After months of movement, solid earth can feel strange. Too still, too quiet. But we are not going ashore yet. We remain here, on this gently rocking deck. Listen closely. The wood creaks softly. A rope taps against the mast in a steady rhythm. Somewhere below, a man coughs in his sleep. The ocean brushes against the hull with a slow, steady hush. This is the pirate's world. Not endless action. Not constant battle. Just wood, wind, water. In the next chapter, we will meet the people who live within this floating world. The captain who was often elected. The quartermaster who could challenge him. The cook who guarded the food like treasure. Because a ship, no matter how strong, is nothing without its crew. For now, let the vessel rock gently beneath you. It rises, it falls, and carries us quietly into the lives of those who called it home. Chapter 3: The Crew and Their Roles. Now that we are standing comfortably on deck, feeling the slow rhythm of the sea beneath us, let us meet the people who call this wooden world home. Pirate ship may look chaotic from the outside, but inside it runs on structure, on roles, on agreement. Let us begin with the captain. Unlike many Navy captains of the 17th century, a pirate captain was often elected. Yes, elected. The crew voted. If they believed a man was brave, skilled, and lucky because luck mattered a lot at sea, they chose him. But here is something interesting. The captain did not have unlimited power. His authority was strongest during battle or chase. In moments of danger, quick decisions were needed. No long debates while cannonballs are flying. But during ordinary days at sea, his power was limited. Which brings us to the quartermaster. The quartermaster was the voice of the crew. He was also elected. His job was to represent the sailors' interests. He oversaw the distribution of food and loot. He could challenge the captain. On some ships, he even controlled discipline. Think of it as a strange floating balance of power. Not perfect democracy, but surprisingly organized for a group of outlaws. Then there was the bosun, often pronounced bosun. He was responsible for the ship's equipment, the ropes, the sails, the rigging. If something snapped in a storm, the bosun knew how to fix it. The carpenter was equally important. Ships leak, always, wood cracks, nails loosen. The carpenter checked the hull regularly. In battle, if a cannonball punched through the side, he rushed to plug the hole before the sea rushed in. The surgeon, if the ship was lucky enough to have one, handled injuries and illness. His tools were simple: knives, saw, needle and thread. No modern anesthesia. Let us just say, sailors hoped they would not need him. The cook worked in a tiny galley, a small brick stove, often boxed in sand to prevent fire from spreading. He guarded food carefully. On long voyages, supplies were precious. A careless spill could mean shorter rations for everyone. And then there were the ordinary sailors. Most of the crew fell into this group. They climbed masts, pulled ropes, swabbed decks, stood watch, loaded cannons. They worked constantly. Many were young, late teens, early 20s. Some had run from hard lives on land. Some were former Navy men tired of harsh discipline. Some had been captured from other ships and offered a choice: join or be set ashore somewhere unpleasant. Not all pirates joined willingly, but once aboard, they became part of the system. One fascinating detail about pirate crews is their diversity. Unlike many national navies, pirate ships often included sailors from different countries and backgrounds. Europeans, Africans, and Caribbean islanders sometimes worked side by side. On some ships, free black sailors received equal shares of plunder. In a world where slavery was widespread and brutal, this was unusual. It does not mean pirate life was morally pure. It was not, but it was, in some ways, less rigid than life under empire. Now let us talk about pirate law. Most pirate ships operated under written agreements called articles. Before a voyage, the crew agreed to rules. These articles listed how loot would be divided, what punishments existed for stealing from fellow crew members, what compensation would be given for injury. For example, a man who lost an arm might receive extra shares of loot. A kind of early insurance system. Dangerous job. Basic benefits package. The rules were serious. Stealing from the crew could mean marooning, being left alone on a deserted island with minimal supplies. Fighting among crew members was sometimes forbidden aboard ship. Disputes might be settled on land instead. Quiet order in the middle of lawlessness. Life on board required cooperation. The sea does not care about personal arguments. If a storm comes, everyone must work together. If sails tear, someone must climb. If the ship runs aground, all are in danger. The hierarchy was real, but it was not absolute. And here is something human. Despite the danger and hard labor, strong bonds often formed between crew members. They ate together, worked together, slept in hammocks inches apart, shared stories under the stars. Loneliness at sea can be heavy. Brotherhood, even rough and imperfect, helped carry that weight. Of course, discipline still existed. A crew member who broke the agreed rules could be punished. Whipping was not uncommon in the 17th century, even outside piracy. Marooning was feared. Being set adrift in a small boat was worse. The ocean is wide, very wide. But most days were not dramatic punishments or heroic speeches. Most days were simple. A sailor wakes in his hammock. He rubs sleep from his eyes. He hears the creak of wood and the slap of waves against the hull. He climbs up to the deck. He checks the sky, feels the wind. He takes his place among the others. No treasure map in his pocket. No parrot giving advice. Just rope burns on his hands, salt in his hair, and another day ahead on the endless water. As we stand here now, imagine them moving around you. The captain near the stern, scanning the horizon. The quartermaster speaking quietly with two sailors. The cook emerging from below deck with the faint smell of boiling peas. It is not chaos. It is routine. A floating society, held together by wood, wind, and shared risk. In the next chapter, we will rise before dawn and join the night watch. When the world is dark, the air is cold, and the stars guide the ship across open sea. For now, listen to the low murmur of voices on deck. The crew settles into their tasks. The ship moves steadily forward, and the ocean stretches endlessly ahead. Chapter 4: The Night Watch Before Dawn. Now the ship is quiet. Most of the crew sleeps below deck, wrapped in blankets, swaying gently in their hammocks. The lanterns burn low. The sea is darker now, almost black, blending into the sky. It is sometime after midnight. This is the hour of the night watch. On a 17th century pirate ship, time is divided into watches, usually 4-hour shifts. While half the crew sleeps, the other half remains awake. The sea does not pause just because men are tired. The wind shifts, currents change, other ships may appear, so someone must always be watching. You stand on deck now. The air is cooler than it was during the day. A soft wind brushes across your face, carries the smell of salt and distant rain. Above you, the sky is enormous. Without city lights, the stars look sharp and bright. They scatter across the darkness like spilled silver coins. The Milky Way stretches faintly overhead, a pale river of light. For sailors of the 1600s, these stars were not just beautiful. They were guides. Navigation at night often relied on them. The North Star, steady and fixed, helped sailors find direction in the northern hemisphere. Experienced navigators could measure angles between stars and the horizon using simple tools. No glowing screens, no satellites, just eyes, memory, and patience. One sailor leans against the rail, peering into the darkness. Another checks the compass, its needle trembling slightly with the ship's motion. The helmsman grips the wooden wheel. It is larger than you might expect. Heavy, solid. It requires steady hands. The ship moves in long, slow swells. Creak, pause, creak. The sound becomes familiar, almost comforting. The wood flexes slightly with each wave. Ropes hum softly in the wind. Somewhere above, a loose line taps against the mast in a slow, steady rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. The night watch is not exciting most of the time. It is quiet. It is patient. And it can be very lonely. Imagine standing there for hours, staring into darkness. The horizon is barely visible. You scan for shapes, for unusual shadows, for the faint outline of another sail. Pirate ships were both hunters and hunted. Naval vessels searched for them. Merchant ships feared them. So the night watch must stay alert. But the mind wanders. A sailor might think of home, a small village near the coast of England, or a crowded port town in France, or an island in the Caribbean where the air smells of sugar cane and warm earth. The ocean feels endless at night. It erases distance. It blurs memory. Some sailors whisper quietly to stay awake. Others hum soft tunes under their breath. Not loud sea shanties, those are for daylight and shared work. Night songs are softer, almost like lullabies, but no one truly relaxes, because the sea can change quickly. A small cloud drifting across the stars might mean a larger system behind it. A sudden drop in wind can signal a coming shift. The watch must notice these small signs. The officer on duty walks slowly across the deck. boots thudding gently against wood. He checks the sails, adjusts a line, nods to the helmsman. No shouting, just low voices and quiet movement. Below deck, the sleeping crew rocks in rhythm with the waves. Hammocks swing gently, preventing sailors from rolling across the floor when the ship tilts. It is a clever solution. The sea may toss the ship, but the hammock moves with it. Sometimes a man mutters in his sleep. Sometimes someone snores loudly enough to be heard above deck. Life continues even in rest. Back above, the wind shifts slightly. The sails respond with a soft, heavy flap before filling again. The ship adjusts course. The helmsman turns the wheel carefully, following instructions. In the distance, lightning flickers silently behind clouds. Too far to hear thunder. Just brief flashes of white light on the horizon. Storm? Perhaps. Or perhaps just heat lightning. The watch notes it anyway. Hours pass slowly at sea. There are no clocks ticking loudly. Instead, time is marked by sandglasses. Every half hour, the glass is turned. A bell may be struck to mark the passage. One bell, two bells, until the end of the watch creates a rhythm. Turn the glass, strike the bell, check the horizon, repeat. Fatigue creeps in quietly. Eyes grow heavy, shoulders ache. The temptation to lean back and close one's eyes, just for a moment, is strong. But falling asleep on watch is serious. Very serious. The safety of the ship depends on alert eyes. So sailors pace slowly. They adjust ropes that do not really need adjusting. They speak softly about nothing in particular. About the last port. About rumors of treasure ships. About the strange fish they saw earlier that day. Anything to stay awake. And sometimes the sea offers a small gift. Phosphorescence. Tiny glowing organisms in the water that light up when disturbed. As the ship cuts through the waves, the wake glows faintly blue, like stardust trailing behind the hull. It is quiet magic. For a moment, even hardened sailors pause to watch it. The ocean, dark and vast, sparkling gently under the night sky. It reminds them how small they are. Out here, there are no walls, no cities, just wind, water, and sky. Toward the end of the watch, the eastern horizon begins to soften. Black turns to deep blue, then to a faint gray. The stars slowly fade. Morning approaches. The air feels colder just before dawn. A thin mist sometimes rises from the sea. The crew on watch grows more alert now, sensing the shift. Soon, the next watch will climb up from below deck. Sleepy faces, stretching arms, quiet greetings. The night watch has done its duty. No enemy sails spotted. No sudden storm. The ship continues safely on its path. As the first pale light touches the edge of the world, the ocean changes color. From black to silver. From silver to soft blue. The long night ends. But the routine does not. Because on a pirate ship, the day begins early. In the next chapter, we will watch the sun rise fully above the horizon and follow the crew into their morning duties. Swabbing decks, checking sails, and preparing for another long day at sea. For now, breathe in the cool air of early dawn. Listen to the last quiet moments before the ship wakes. The sea moves gently, the sky brightens, and a new day begins on the open water. Chapter 5: Sunrise and Morning Duties. The first light of morning does not arrive loudly. It slips in quietly. At first, the horizon is only a thin pale line, barely visible against the dark blue sea. Then the sky begins to soften. Gray turns to silver. Silver turns to faint gold. The men of the night watch squint toward the east. Their shift is nearly over. Shoulders stiff, eyes tired, but they have guided the ship safely through the dark hours. Below deck, movement begins. A sailor shifts in his hammock. Another groans softly and rolls to one side. The air below is warm and heavy. It smells of wood, damp cloth, salt, and many unwashed men. Not exactly a luxury spa. One by one, the crew climbs up to the deck. Boots thud on wooden steps. Bare feet slap against planks. Some men stretch their arms high, joints cracking softly. Others rub their eyes and blink at the early light. The ocean at sunrise can look almost peaceful, almost gentle. The waves roll slowly, reflecting soft pink and orange colors. For a brief moment, the world feels calm. Then the work begins. A pirate ship may have had looser leadership than a navy vessel, but it was not lazy. Discipline kept the ship alive. Morning duties were not optional. One of the first tasks is swabbing the deck. Buckets of seawater are hauled up. Long-handled stones, called holy stones, are used to scrub the wooden planks. Sailors kneel and push the stones back and forth across the deck, scraping away salt, dirt, and grime. It is hard work. On hands and knees, back and forth. The name Holy Stone supposedly came from the way sailors knelt like they were praying, although they were probably praying for breakfast. Clean decks mattered. Salt could damage wood over time. Slippery planks were dangerous during storms. A clean ship was a safer ship. Nearby, another group checks the rigging. Ropes stretch high into the masts. They must be examined for wear. A frayed rope could snap under tension, whipping dangerously across the deck. So sailors tug and inspect, fingers moving along rough fibers. The bosun supervises. He watches carefully. A nod here, a short instruction there. He knows every line, every knot. Above, a sailor climbs into the rigging with surprising ease, barefoot for grip. He moves upward along the mast, balancing on narrow beams. The height would make many people dizzy. Small rips must be repaired before they grow larger. He runs his hand along the fabric, scanning for weak spots. Below, the carpenter inspects the hull from inside. Ships always leak a little. It is normal, but too much water in the bilge, the lowest part of the ship, can become a serious problem. The pump is tested. 2 sailors operate it in rhythm, pushing and pulling long handles. Water sloshes up and out, spilling back into the sea. It is repetitive work, and slightly smelly. The sea gives, the sea takes, and sometimes the sea seeps in. At the stern, near the wheel, the officer on morning duty studies the horizon. The sun finally lifts itself above the edge of the world, casting bright light across the water. The sails glow briefly in golden color. It is beautiful, but no one stops working for long. Morning also means checking supplies. Barrels are inspected. Water levels measured. Fresh water is precious. More precious than rum. Without it, the crew cannot last long at sea. Food stores are counted. Hardtack biscuits stacked in crates. Salted meat packed in brine. Dried peas. Perhaps some rice. Hardtack, by the way, is not soft bread. It is a dry, rock-hard biscuit made of flour and water. Can last for months, or years. Some sailors joked that the biscuits were harder than cannonballs. Before eating, sailors often tapped hardtack on the table to knock out insects. Yes, insects. Small weevils sometimes made their home inside. Extra protein, one might say. Not exactly gourmet. Meanwhile, the cook begins preparing the morning meal. His galley is small. A simple brick stove surrounded by sand to prevent fire from spreading. Fire aboard a wooden ship is one of the greatest fears. So cooking is careful business. Smoke drifts lightly upward as something begins to boil in a pot. Likely a thin porridge or stew made from dried peas or oats. Nothing fancy, but warm food in the morning is welcome. The smell slowly spreads across the deck. Even in tough conditions, food brings comfort. As the crew finishes cleaning and checking, small conversations begin. Quiet jokes, light teasing, a complaint about sore muscles, a comment about the weather. Wind's good today, better than yesterday. Anything is better than yesterday. Simple humor helps pass the time. The captain may appear on deck now, observing quietly. He does not need to shout. The crew already knows its routine. He might speak briefly with the quartermaster, discuss the course, the next possible shipping lane, rumors of merchant vessels. Pirate ships often relied on information gathered at ports. Word traveled fast in taverns. A Spanish ship leaving Havana, a merchant convoy sailing from Port Royal. Knowledge could mean opportunity, but this morning there is no target in sight, just open water. The sun climbs higher, the early chill fades, heat begins to build slowly on the deck. The sails shift gently as the wind strengthens. The crew divides into smaller tasks now. Some mend clothing. Tears are common. Salt and sun weaken fabric quickly. Needle and thread become valuable tools. Others polish weapons. Not dramatically, just routine care. A rusted blade is useless. A damp pistol may misfire. But again, most days pass without battle. This is what surprises many people about pirate life. It was mostly maintenance, cleaning, repairing, waiting for wind, waiting for sight of land, waiting for another ship on the horizon. And in between these tasks, there are small quiet moments. A sailor pauses, leaning against the rail. He watches flying fish leap from the water. Tiny silver flashes skipping across the waves. Another shields his eyes, scanning far into the distance. The line where sea meets sky is sharp and clear. The ocean seems endless. No buildings, no trees, no roads, just blue. As breakfast is finally served, men gather in small groups. Bowls in hand, they sit where they can find space. On coils of rope, against the rail, near the mast. Steam rises gently from the food. It is simple, but it is enough. The night watch finally heads below deck to sleep. They pass the fresh crew on the stairs. Nods exchanged. No ceremony, just routine. Life aboard a pirate ship moves in cycles. Night watch to sunrise. Sunrise to labor. Labor to meal. Meal to more labor. The day stretches ahead. And as the sun climbs higher, casting bright light across the rolling sea, the ship continues forward, wood creaking softly, sails full, crew awake and working. In the next chapter, we will sit down with them and take a closer look at what they eat, how they ration food, and how they survive long weeks without fresh supplies. For now, feel the warmth of the rising sun on your face. Hear the steady rhythm of the pump. Smell the faint scent of boiling porridge. Another day has begun on the pirate ship, and the sea waits patiently around them. Chapter 6, Breakfast and Food at Sea. The morning has settled fully across the deck. Sunlight warms the wood, glints off the ropes, and makes the sails glow softly. The crew has finished cleaning, checking ropes, mending sails, and performing small repairs. Now comes one of the most anticipated moments of the day. Breakfast. On a pirate ship, breakfast was rarely fancy. There were no steaming pancakes, no fresh fruit, no perfectly brewed coffee. Instead, the crew relied on what could be stored and kept edible for weeks, sometimes months. Salted meat, hardtack biscuits, dried peas, occasionally some fish caught during the night, water carefully rationed, and of course rum. A little ration of rum in the morning was not unusual, though sailors learned quickly that too much before work could be dangerous. The cook works quietly in a small galley below deck. He stirs a pot of thin porridge or stews dried peas with water until they swell and soften. The fire crackles softly, flames licking the blackened brick walls. Smoke rises and winds its way through the ship. The smell spreads across the deck, mixing with salt, tar, and the ever-present tang of the sea. Food is a matter of survival. A dry biscuit may not sound exciting, but when you are out at sea for weeks with nothing fresh, it can mean the difference between health and weakness. Hardtack, the rock-hard biscuit of the age, is notorious. It lasts for months, can survive storms, humidity, and even ship rats, if you are careful. Sailors tap it on tables to knock off bugs, sometimes joking that the insects add a little extra protein to their diet. Salted meat, usually beef or pork, sits in barrels with brine. Occasionally, the cook slices off a chunk and boils it with some of the ship's peas. The smell is comforting. It is warm, fills the belly, and even if it tastes bland or tough, the crew eats it quickly. Hunger has a way of making almost anything palatable. Water is another precious commodity. Freshwater casks must be monitored closely. A leaky barrel or contaminated supply could lead to illness. Some ships used wooden scoops to pour water into small cups, making sure that everyone received their ration. Sharing water was critical. On a pirate ship, fairness mattered. A captain who hoarded water could expect mutiny. As the crew gathers, some sit on coils of rope. Others lean against railings. Food is eaten quickly, quietly, with occasional murmurs. There is a rhythm to this. The night watch descends below to rest. They leave the deck slowly, yawning, stretching, blinking against the morning light. Meals also serve as a moment to socialize. Even pirates, hardened by lawlessness and danger, needed small comforts. Quiet jokes pass between men. A sailor nudges another, complaining about hardtack yet again. A laugh travels across the deck. Small human moments, tiny pieces of normal life amid the chaos of the ocean. Eating is practical, too. After breakfast, the crew must clean up. Bowls are scraped. Pots are rinsed in seawater. Any scraps must be gathered, not wasted. Rats are always a problem. They scurry in the corners of the deck, under barrels, in the dark of the hold. Quick reflexes are necessary. A rat chewing on a salted meat barrel could be disastrous. The cook, after cleaning, often climbs onto the deck to take a breath of fresh air. He squints at the horizon, watching for distant sails, islands, or dark clouds. The smell of salt is strong here. The smell of smoke fades in the wind. He nods to passing sailors, exchanges a brief joke, then descends to check on the galley again. Routine, repetition, small duties. Rationing is strict but understood. Each man receives his share of food and water. Too little and morale drops. Too much and supplies dwindle too quickly. It is a delicate balance. Discipline extends to meals. Stealing food from another sailor could lead to serious punishment. Even among outlaws, fairness has rules. Breakfast on a pirate ship is also slow. Not in the sense of lingering leisurely over pastries and coffee, but slow because eating takes place amid constant motion. The ship rocks. Men hold on to railings or the rigging while biting into hard biscuits. Pots slide slightly across tables. Cups of water slosh. Sailors adjust continuously, learning to balance their bodies and their bowls. After breakfast, the galley is cleaned once again. The smell of cooking fades but leaves traces. The fire is banked, ready for later meals. The crew disperses to their next tasks, and the morning continues with the rhythm of life aboard ship. Some sailors climb into the rigging to inspect sails. Others repair torn canvas. Still others scrub the deck again, polishing wood and removing salt stains from the night spray. Even mundane work carries with it small opportunities for humor. A sailor slipping on a wet deck may provoke quiet laughter. Someone misplaces a bucket, which rolls slowly across the planks. Another man nudges it back with his boot, joking about his marble collection. These small moments, brief and light, keep spirits high. It is worth noting that despite appearances, the pirate ship operates efficiently. Every man knows his role. Every task contributes to survival. The vessel itself, alive with motion, requires attention from dawn until night. Clean decks, repaired sails, rationed food, and well-maintained weapons are essential. Neglect means risk. Neglect can mean disaster in a sudden storm or battle. Even during breakfast, men glance to the horizon. Always, the ocean can change in an instant. Ships appear suddenly. Clouds gather quickly. Wind shifts. Awareness must remain. Habits form over weeks at sea. The crew becomes attuned to the slightest variation in the air, the feel of the wind, the smell of the water. Meals, therefore, are brief but essential. Nourishment is needed for strength and alertness. And yet, for a short time, during the warm light of morning, the ship feels almost calm. A temporary peace. Men eat, drink, laugh quietly, and regain energy. Soon, the routine continues. Buckets are hauled. Sails repaired. The carpenter checks the hull. The officer examines charts and the horizon. And so the cycle of life aboard the ship presses on. Breakfast may be simple. Salted meat, hardtack, peas, water, rum. Yet it is a moment of togetherness, a pause in a relentless schedule. And in the quiet hours of morning, it reminds the crew why they endure. Survival, companionship, and the endless rhythm of the sea. As the sun climbs higher, the day truly begins. In the next chapter, we will follow the crew as they carry out maintenance and labor. The decks will be scrubbed again, ropes checked, cannons cleaned, work that is dull yet vital, the routine that keeps the ship alive and the crew alive along with it. For now, take a deep breath and imagine the warm sun on your face, the smell of porridge and salted meat, and the gentle sway of the ship as it glides through endless blue water. The day is just beginning, and life aboard the pirate ship moves forward, quietly and steadily, under the golden light of morning. Chapter 7: Work and Maintenance. The sun is higher now, spilling warm light across the deck. The morning meal is done, dishes are rinsed, and the crew disperses to begin the day's work. On a pirate ship, work never truly ends. Life at sea depends on constant attention, even on days when nothing dramatic happens. The first task is usually maintenance. The deck must be kept clean. Salt, seawater, and the grime of everyday life damage the wood if ignored. Sailors kneel with holy stones, scrubbing in long, repetitive motions. Their hands ache, their knees press into the rough planks, and water sloshes from buckets as they move. It is slow, hard, and repetitive work, but it must be done. A slippery deck during a storm could mean disaster. Nearby, some crew members focus on the rigging. Ropes stretch high into the sky, connecting sails, masts, and yards. Each rope has a name, a purpose, and a history. Frayed ropes are repaired with careful knots, and all must be checked regularly. One snap at the wrong moment could mean torn sails or a man overboard. So even this laborious work carries importance. At the same time, the carpenter checks the hull and holds a small hammer and a caulking mallet. Ships always leak a little. It's a fact of life. He taps the planks to listen for hollow spots, checks for splits, and fills gaps with tarred oakum. A small leak ignored today can flood the hold tomorrow. The carpenter moves methodically, knowing the entire crew depends on his skill. Cannons, too, demand attention. Not because they fire constantly, most days they sit quietly, but because rust and neglect can make them useless in an emergency. Sailors polish metal surfaces, oil the moving parts, and check powder stores. A cannon may never be used, but the crew cannot know that in advance. Preparedness is survival. The bosun or bosun walks among the crew, supervising, giving advice, and occasionally offering a bit of dry humor to break the monotony. "Careful with that line," he says, pointing at a sailor who is dragging a coil of rope. "Don't let it strangle the deck." Sailors chuckle quietly. Humor is precious on long voyages. Keep spirits high when the work feels endless. Work is everywhere. Even small details matter. Blocks and pulleys are checked. Sailcloth is mended. Nails in the deck are hammered down. Barrels are inspected. Water casks are rolled into place. Every man has a task. Every task matters. On a ship at sea, neglecting even the smallest duty can have consequences far beyond the immediate. The smell of the deck is sharp and layered. Salt, sweat, tar, and the faint smoke from the galley linger in the warm morning air. Hands become raw from rope and wood. The sun bakes them as the hours pass, but the crew continues steadily, methodically. This is the rhythm of life aboard a pirate ship. Work punctuates the day. Work keeps the ship alive. Work keeps the men alive. Amid all this, sailors are also watching the horizon. They glance up from the deck to check the sky, the color of the water, the movement of distant clouds. A storm may be gathering. A ship may be approaching. Pirates never stop observing. Awareness is part of the labor. Even in routine, every sailor is alert. Between tasks, small moments of camaraderie appear. A sailor passing another might share a joke about a missed breakfast or the hardness of hardtack. A quick nod or smile acknowledges shared fatigue. Life is still hard, but the human connection makes it bearable. Loneliness is constant at sea, and small interactions help. The carpenter's work below deck continues. Every plank checked, every joint inspected. The bilge pump is tested to make sure it functions if water leaks in. The hold is organized. Barrels of food are rotated. Salted meat is checked for spoilage. Hardtack is counted and stacked neatly. Everything has a place. Order on a pirate ship is subtle but essential. Meanwhile, the bosun might climb into the rigging, tugging on ropes and shouting instructions in a calm, measured voice. Tighten that line. Check that sail. The motions are repetitive but precise. The men above and below respond automatically. This coordination keeps the sails functioning. The ship moves forward with efficiency. Without it, progress slows or disaster strikes. Even the act of cleaning has layers of purpose. Salt crust builds up quickly. A small stain or puddle can become a hazard. Holystoning is both work and ritual. Kneeling, scrubbing, rising, repeating. It keeps the deck safe, the men focused, and the rhythm of the day steady. Sometimes, tasks overlap. Sailors repair sails while others polish weapons. The carpenter and bosun coordinate with the helmsman to adjust the ship for wind and current. Movement is constant but not chaotic. Each man knows his place, his task, his importance. And yet, work is not always heavy. Some men carve small trinkets from spare wood. Others quietly sharpen tools. A bit of free time appears in the routine, though it is brief. Even in labor, moments of small creativity and light humor occur. A joke whispered across the deck, a teasing comment about a missed knot. Work and life are intertwined. The sun climbs higher, and the deck becomes warmer. Sweat drips, muscles ache. But no one stops. The rhythm continues. Scrub, check, hammer, oil, adjust, lift, sweep. It is relentless, but it is necessary. The ship depends on it. Survival depends on it. Around midday, the crew pauses briefly for water. Small cups are passed along. Rum may be rationed in moderation. The men catch their breath. The sun is high, the waves gentle, and the sea sparkles in wide patches of light. These pauses are brief, just long enough to recover before returning to work. And through all of this, the ship moves. It rocks with waves, creaks with effort, and rides the current steadily. It is alive in a quiet, powerful way. The men are alive too, moving with it, adjusting to its motions, working in concert with its demands. This is the heart of daily life aboard a pirate ship. Not battles, not dramatic captures, not treasure hunts. Work, maintenance, attention to detail, repetition, discipline, humor when possible, camaraderie when needed. Every plank scrubbed, every rope checked, every cannon polished, keeps the vessel afloat and the crew alive. By the afternoon, men begin to feel the rhythm deeply. The creak of the wood, the slap of waves against the hull, the hum of ropes in the wind, all become part of the background of their lives. It is not exciting, but it is vital. And in its own quiet way, it is beautiful. In the next chapter, we will explore navigation and steering, showing how pirates found their way across vast, open seas with nothing but stars, compass, and skill. But for now, pause and imagine the gentle rocking of the ship, the warm sunlight on your skin, and the quiet, steady rhythm of men at work on a floating wooden world. Chapter 8: Navigation and Life at Sea. By mid-afternoon, the work on deck begins to slow slightly. The sun is high, the wind steady, and the crew takes a few moments to catch their breath. But even in these small pauses, the ship must continue moving. And moving through the vast ocean requires skill, knowledge, and constant attention. This is the realm of navigation, the art of finding your way across endless water. In the 17th century, pirates did not have GPS, radar, or glowing screens. They relied on simple tools, keen observation, and experience. The most important tool, the compass, a small metal needle suspended in a bowl of liquid or on a pivot. It always pointed north, giving the sailors a sense of direction no matter how featureless the sea appeared. Without it, a ship could drift for days, lost among waves. Maps or charts were another essential tool. But unlike today, these maps were crude, often inaccurate, and sometimes wildly imaginative. Coastlines were approximated. Islands were misplaced. Every map was a guide, not a guarantee. Pirates relied on memory, rumor, and the skill of their navigators to make sense of the information. Sailors also read the sky. The sun, its angle, and the shadows it cast provided clues about direction and time. At night, stars were critical. The North Star, steady and bright, offered a fixed point. By measuring angles with simple tools like the astrolabe or crossstaff, experienced navigators could estimate latitude. Longitude was far trickier, often guessed based on time, speed, and dead reckoning. Mistakes were common, and ships sometimes ended up far from intended destinations. Currents and wind mattered as much as stars or compasses. Every sailor learned to read the ocean. A change in the color of water could indicate a reef below. The movement of waves hinted at nearby islands. Clouds on the horizon could signal a storm or a shift in wind. Even birds provided clues, flying low toward land, calling in certain patterns. Observing nature was essential. It could mean the difference between safety and disaster. Life at sea was not only about navigation but about survival. Food and water were limited. Salted meat, dried peas, hardtack, and carefully rationed freshwater sustained the crew. Every day, sailors calculated how long supplies would last. Mistakes could result in hunger or thirst. Planning was constant. Pirates also needed to remain alert for other ships. A vessel on the horizon could be a merchant with goods to capture, or a Navy ship hunting them. Early detection allowed preparation, raising the pirate flag, readying weapons, and assigning positions. Every pair of eyes mattered. Even a minor lapse could be fatal. Despite the dangers, life at sea had moments of quiet beauty. The sun glinted off the waves. Dolphins occasionally leapt alongside the hull. Flying fish skimmed the surface, silver flashes in the blue water. Sailors paused for these moments, however brief, appreciating the calm between labor and danger. The crew's daily routines also included constant observation of the ship itself. Sailors checked the rigging, inspected sails, and listened for unusual sounds from the hull. A leak could start small, unnoticed, but quickly become catastrophic. Every task, no matter how dull, played a role in keeping the ship and crew alive. Even the act of steering required attention. The helmsman gripped the wheel, adjusting for wind, waves, and the ship's weight. Heavy ropes and pulleys shifted constantly, requiring steady hands. A single miscalculation could slow progress or steer the vessel into danger. Navigating was tiring work, both physically and mentally. Sailors had to remain alert for hours, watching for subtle signs in the wind, the water, and the sky. Errors could mean running aground on reefs, missing an opportunity to capture a rich merchant ship, or drifting off course entirely. Pirates, despite their outlaw reputation, were skilled sailors. They relied on knowledge accumulated over years of experience. They studied the stars. They learned the moods of the sea. They memorized coastal features. Some even kept small logbooks, noting changes in currents, landmarks, and weather patterns. Life at sea, though monotonous at times, demanded vigilance. There was little room for carelessness. Every small decision affected the crew and the ship. Pirates learned this quickly, through experience, through observation, and sometimes through mistakes. Yet even amid labor and alertness, pirates found small ways to pass the time. Quiet songs were hummed, knots were practiced, and small carvings were made from spare wood. These minor activities helped preserve sanity in a life of endless ocean and routine work. And still, the horizon stretched endlessly. Islands appeared occasionally, but more often there was just water, blue, rolling, endless. Waves rose and fell in gentle rhythms, creaking the hull. The wind shifted slightly, tugging at the sails. Seagulls cried above in the distance. The sun moved toward the west, painting the sea in changing shades of gold and green. The crew continued their duties, steady and uncomplaining. Ropes were checked, sails adjusted, and the helmsman maintained course. The rhythm of the ship became almost hypnotic. Wood creaking, ropes humming, sails snapping softly in the wind. By mid-afternoon, fatigue begins to creep in. Sunlight beats down, muscles ache, and hands are rough from rope and wood. The crew works steadily, sharing brief jokes or small complaints. Humor remains essential. It helps relieve tension, maintain morale, and preserve the delicate social order aboard the ship. The sea, ever patient, watches them. It offers nothing and takes nothing willingly. Sailors respect it, fear it, depend on it. Survival is a constant negotiation with wind, waves, and the unknown. And yet, there is freedom. The open ocean, the sky stretching endlessly, the ability to choose one's path. These are rewards. Even the work, repetitive as it is, brings purpose. Every scrubbed plank, every repaired rope, every adjusted sail keeps the ship moving, keeps the crew alive, and ensures that the pirate can continue his life at sea. As the afternoon fades toward evening, shadows stretch across the deck. The sun lowers toward the horizon, coloring the waves with gold and red. The day's work is far from done, but the crew pauses briefly, appreciating the moment. Another small miracle of life at sea. A quiet afternoon, work completed for now, and the ship steady beneath their feet. In the next chapter, we will explore pirate law and discipline, the surprising order aboard a vessel often considered chaotic. Rules, shares of loot, injury compensation, and punishments created a strange but effective system that kept pirates alive and working together. For now, take a moment to feel the wind, the gentle rocking of the ship, and the vast, unending horizon. Life at sea is constant labor, constant attention, and constant wonder, all unfolding beneath the golden afternoon sun. Chapter 9: Pirate Law and Discipline. Even though pirates were outlaws in the eyes of governments, their ships operated under surprisingly strict rules. Life at sea was dangerous, and without order, chaos could sink a ship faster than cannon fire or storms ever could. Pirates relied on what they called the Articles, a written set of rules agreed upon by the crew before a voyage. These articles varied from ship to ship. Some were short and simple. Others were surprisingly detailed. They explained how loot would be divided, what punishments awaited rule breakers, and how injuries were compensated. Think of it as a contract between men living in constant danger with little else to bind them together. At the top of the articles was the captain's authority. Unlike Navy ships where captains ruled with near-absolute power, a pirate captain's authority was conditional. He made decisions during battle and chase, but on a calm day, his word was balanced by the quartermaster. If he acted unfairly, the crew could vote to remove him. This system of checks and balances was rare for the time and earned pirates a reputation for rough fairness. The quartermaster enforced the rules and represented the crew's interests. He oversaw rations, punished minor offenses, and ensured that the captain did not take more than his share of loot. Some historians have suggested that this made pirate ships more democratic than most societies on land. The men were not equal in rank, but they had a voice. The articles also covered punishments. Stealing from a fellow pirate, for instance, could result in marooning, being left alone on a deserted island with minimal supplies. A serious offense and feared above almost all else. Lesser crimes could earn a whipping or loss of share in loot. Discipline was necessary. On a ship where trust and cooperation could mean life or death, one man acting selfishly could doom everyone. Injuries were another important aspect. Pirate life was dangerous. Battles, falls from rigging, cannon blasts, or storms could maim a sailor. The articles often included compensation for injuries. A man who lost a limb might receive extra shares of loot. This early form of insurance helped maintain morale and loyalty. It also acknowledged the very real physical risks of life at sea. Interestingly, not all punishment was cruel. Many pirates understood the value of keeping men alive and motivated. Excessive cruelty could backfire. A well-fed, fairly treated crew is more likely to work together during storms or battles than a terrified, resentful one. Pirates may have been outlaws, but they were pragmatic. Survival depended on cooperation. Daily life aboard ship also reinforced discipline. Routine tasks, swabbing decks, checking sails, pumping the bilge, maintaining weapons, taught patience, responsibility, and teamwork. Sailors learned quickly that neglecting duties could result in more work for everyone, or worse, an accident during a storm. Every task, no matter how dull, was vital. Pirate law extended beyond shipboard life, too. Alliances with other pirate crews, dealings with smugglers, and interactions at port required rules. Trade, negotiations, and even threats were conducted according to agreed standards. While brutal at times, these customs helped maintain order in a chaotic world. Humor and camaraderie were subtle tools for discipline as well. Teasing, shared songs, and small jokes reinforced bonds. Mutual respect and trust grew from everyday interaction. Life aboard a pirate ship was dangerous enough without adding internal conflict. The crew had to work as one unit. Leadership rotated subtly through the day. While the captain oversaw battle or navigation, the quartermaster enforced routine and minor disputes. Officers supervised work, while ordinary sailors carried out the labor that kept the ship functional. Even in moments of rest, vigilance was expected. Every man was responsible for the ship's safety, and the crew reminded one another of their duties continuously. Pirates also adapted rules for emergency situations. Storms, sudden illness, or surprise encounters with enemy ships demanded flexibility. The articles provided a framework, but experience and intuition guided many decisions. Leadership depended on competence, not just rank. It is remarkable how this system created relative stability. Despite being criminals, pirates established what could be described as a microsociety. Rules, roles, compensation, and punishment worked together to maintain life aboard a small, isolated, constantly moving ship. Order and survival were inseparable. Even now, standing on the deck, one can see the legacy of these rules in the way the crew moves. Each man knows his responsibilities. Each knows the consequences of neglect. Tasks are done methodically. Discipline is quiet but firm. Cooperation is constant. Pirate law and discipline may seem paradoxical. Outlaws governed themselves with rules that rivaled some land-based societies in fairness and organization. Violence existed, yes, but it was measured. Survival depended on it. By late afternoon, after long hours of work, the crew begins to feel the rhythm of their day shift winding down. The sun lowers, casting shadows across the deck. Tired hands relax for brief moments. Ropes are coiled. Tools are stowed. The officer ensures that everything is in order before the evening watch takes over. The ocean remains vast and unpredictable. Navigation, vigilance, and careful labor are still necessary. But within the confines of the ship, rules and shared understanding create a fragile sense of stability. Men may be outlaws on paper, but at sea, they are part of a structured, functioning society. In the next chapter, we will follow the crew through the evening, the preparation for nightfall, securing the ship, and the calm yet vigilant hours that follow the sun's descent. Life on a pirate ship is not just labor and law. It is also rhythm, observation, and the quiet endurance of a world afloat. For now, imagine the crew taking stock of the day, coiling ropes, checking weapons, and resting briefly under the low light of the late afternoon sun. The ship moves steadily through the waves, alive with motion and purpose. Life aboard is hard, structured, and dangerous, but it is the only world they know. Chapter 10: Evening Preparations and Sunset. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, the atmosphere aboard the pirate ship shifts. The bright glare of midday softens into a warm, golden glow. Shadows stretch across the deck, twisting with the gentle sway of the vessel. For sailors, evening is both a time to prepare for nightfall and a brief respite from the relentless labor of the day. The first task is to secure the ship. Sailors inspect the rigging one last time, tightening ropes and checking knots. Even a small slack line could become dangerous in the dark or during a sudden gust of wind. The sails are adjusted to catch the last favorable currents, ensuring the ship maintains steady progress. Every movement is deliberate, measured, and purposeful. The helmsman continues to steer, but now he must anticipate nightfall. The light will fade, and with it, visibility will decrease. His hands grip the wheel firmly, eyes scanning the horizon for subtle changes in the water or approaching vessels. Even at this hour, vigilance is essential. Pirates may not be bound by law, but the sea is bound by rules of its own, and ignoring them is fatal. Meanwhile, the carpenter and the boatswain walk the deck, inspecting planks and masts. The carpenter checks the hull and the bilge, tapping on the wood for any weak spots or leaks. The boatswain examines every rope, block, and pulley, ensuring that they are in perfect working order. These small acts of maintenance are critical. Storms, even distant ones, can come quickly and without warning. Below deck, the cook begins preparing the evening meal. It is similar to breakfast and lunch: salted meat, hardtack, dried peas, and water. But after a long day of labor, the meal is more than sustenance. It is morale. Sailors gather in small groups, passing bowls, sharing a joke, or commenting on the day's events. Even on a pirate ship, food is a small comfort, a reminder of routine and community. As the meal progresses, the sun continues to sink. The sky transforms into a canvas of orange, pink, and purple, reflected across the gently rolling sea. Pirates, accustomed to danger and hard labor, often pause to take in this spectacle. It is brief, fleeting, but it reminds them why they endure the hardships of life at sea. During this time, the crew also tends to personal tasks. Hammocks are checked and adjusted, ropes are coiled, and personal items stowed safely. Sailors may take a moment to sharpen knives, mend clothing, or polish weapons. Even mundane tasks carry importance. Preparedness is key to survival. The quartermaster circulates among the crew, ensuring that all men are accounted for and that duties have been completed. He enforces the rules quietly, checking for any issues before night sets in. Discipline, like navigation, must continue even as the sun sets. Above deck, the sails sway gently in the evening breeze, creaking softly with the ship's movement. The ropes hum as tension shifts, and the wooden planks groan under the weight of men moving about. These sounds, constant yet subtle, are the heartbeat of the ship. Sailors listen carefully, attuned to anything unusual. A new or discordant sound could signal trouble. As darkness approaches, lanterns are lit in preparation for the night watch. Their warm, flickering glow provides enough light to navigate the deck safely without blinding the crew or signaling their position to distant ships. Shadows dance across the planks, moving with the rocking of the ship. It is a delicate balance, light enough to work by, but subtle enough to maintain stealth and vigilance. The captain often appears during this time, surveying the deck and speaking briefly with the quartermaster. Together, they discuss the evening watch, potential hazards, and the course for the night. These conversations are quiet, efficient, and serious. Even pirates, free and lawless in their own right, understood the importance of planning and foresight. The first sailors to take the evening watch climb into position. Their shift will last until midnight, replacing the afternoon crew and ensuring that the ship remains safe as darkness fully settles over the water. The crew leaving the deck descends below, seeking rest in hammocks or quiet corners. Sleep is precious, brief, and often interrupted by the ship's constant motion or the distant call of seabirds. Meanwhile, the sea itself seems to transform with the setting sun. Colors fade into deeper blues and purples. The horizon becomes harder to distinguish. Waves reflect the last light in sparkling streaks, and the air grows cooler, carrying a salty tang that fills the senses. The pirate ship, a wooden vessel afloat on this vast, ever-changing expanse, continues its journey steadily and purposefully. Even in the fading light, the ship's routine does not stop. Tasks continue quietly. Ropes are coiled, sails adjusted, cannons checked, and the hull inspected. Every man knows his role. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the safety and efficiency of the ship. The structure of life aboard, governed by rules, experience, and cooperation, remains intact even as day turns to night. As darkness fully approaches, sailors on watch settle into their positions. The ocean becomes a near-infinite black mirror, broken only by the occasional ripple or reflection of the moon. Stars begin to pierce the night sky, providing guidance and a sense of scale to the vastness around them. Experienced navigators already chart their course by constellations, while others quietly adjust ropes or check equipment. Evening brings a change in mood. Labor slows slightly, replaced by quiet observation and alert readiness. Sailors whisper to each other, sharing small jokes or stories to pass the time. Fatigue is balanced by attentiveness. Everyone knows that the night can bring sudden danger. Storms, enemy ships, or hidden reefs. Every sound, every shadow is noted and considered. As the pirate ship sails into the twilight, life aboard is a delicate balance of work, vigilance, and reflection. Pirates may be seen as reckless adventurers, but the rhythm of their existence is carefully maintained, blending labor, rules, and survival instincts into a continuous, living routine. In the next chapter, we will follow the night watch into the deep hours, exploring how pirates endure darkness, monotony, and the ever-present uncertainty of life at sea. The night is long, but for those aboard, it is as structured and purposeful as the day that came before. For now, imagine standing on the deck, feeling the cool evening breeze, hearing the soft creak of wood and ropes, watching the golden light fade into dark, and sensing the constant, steady heartbeat of a ship moving through the open ocean. Life aboard a pirate vessel never truly stops. It only shifts with the rhythm of sun, wind, and waves. Chapter 11, The Night Watch, Deep Night. The sun has disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving only a faint glow behind the darkening sky. Stars now dominate the night, scattered across the heavens like a million tiny lanterns. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction, deep blue fading to black. The pirate ship, a wooden silhouette against the vast sea, rocks gently as it continues its journey. Now begins the night watch, the hours most sailors fear and respect. Life at night is slower, quieter, and lonelier, yet the work is just as vital. Half the crew sleeps below deck, tucked into hammocks, swaying with the rhythm of the ship. The other half remains awake, moving methodically, alert to any sign of danger. Every creak of wood, Every whisper of wind through the rigging could signal a storm, another ship, or worse. The helmsman grips the wheel tightly, eyes scanning the horizon. In the absence of light, the ocean feels endless, vast, and indifferent. Steering a ship by starlight is an art as much as a skill. The North Star, steady in its position, becomes a silent guide. Navigators use the stars to estimate direction, combined with compass readings and their memory of the ship's progress. Mistakes are unforgiving. Even a small miscalculation can lead to running aground or drifting far off course. Above, the sails flap softly in the wind, ropes humming as they shift. The bosun moves among them, checking lines and knots, adjusting tension where needed. Every rope, every pulley, every block has a purpose. Even at night, each component must function flawlessly. One failure could turn routine movement into chaos. Below deck, the carpenter makes rounds, listening for subtle leaks, tapping planks, and checking the bilge. The ship always leaks, but minor problems become dangerous if ignored. Pumps are tested, gaps sealed, and barrels inspected. Even in the quiet of night, maintenance continues. Survival demands vigilance. Sailors on watch often find themselves in stretches of monotony. Hours can pass with nothing happening except the slow rhythm of waves and the gentle sway of the ship. In these moments, minds wander. Memories of home, rumors of treasure, dreams of freedom, all drift alongside the vessel. Quiet humming or low whispers help keep alertness and morale intact. Humor, even tiny jokes, becomes a small lifeline against fatigue and isolation. The night watch is also a time of observation. The ocean often reveals hidden signs in the dark. Ripples may indicate underwater hazards. Changes in wind direction hint at approaching storms. Birds flying low can signal land nearby. Even distant clouds can warn of trouble. Every detail matters. Every observation can mean life or death. The moon, when it rises, provides faint illumination. Silver light shimmers on waves, revealing small details otherwise lost in darkness. Phosphorescent plankton sometimes sparkles in the ship's wake, creating a surreal glow, like scattered starlight in the water below. Sailors pause briefly to admire these natural wonders, even as their hands remain busy, checking ropes or scanning the horizon. Fatigue is constant. Eyes grow heavy. Bodies ache from the day's labor and the rocking motion. The temptation to rest is ever present. Yet the danger of neglect is too high. Even a single man nodding off on watch could endanger everyone. Sailors pace, adjust sails, and work in subtle motions to stay awake. Small tasks repeated become both duty and survival strategy. The quartermaster patrols the deck quietly, keeping an eye on the crew, ensuring vigilance, and maintaining discipline. His presence is a reminder that, even at night, order is essential. Pirate ships may be outlaws, but their law, codified in articles and enforced by mutual necessity, is clear. Stealing, negligence, or drunkenness could result in punishment, even during the cover of darkness. At times, distant sounds reach the crew. The slap of a wave against the hull, the cry of a seabird, or the faint, echoing rumble of thunder far away. Each noise is analyzed carefully. Experience teaches which sounds are routine and which demand immediate attention. Night amplifies subtle changes, making the ocean feel both alive and unpredictable. Some sailors take brief pauses, leaning against rails or ropes, listening to the water and watching stars. In these moments, life feels simultaneously vast and intimate. The ship is their world, floating on the endless expanse of the sea. Survival depends on skill, cooperation, and vigilance. Yet the beauty of the night offers moments of wonder and reflection. The hours stretch. Midnight passes. Sailors swap positions quietly, ensuring constant alertness. The rhythm of the night watch, observation, maintenance, vigilance becomes almost meditative. It is demanding, exhausting, yet strangely structured. In the absence of daylight, life aboard the ship continues with its familiar patterns. The captain occasionally appears, moving silently across the deck. His presence is calm, authoritative, but not oppressive. Even at night, decisions may need to be made. Adjusting course, responding to distant sails, or preparing for weather changes. Leadership is subtle, guiding rather than commanding, especially in the quiet, tense hours before dawn. As the night progresses, small moments of companionship appear. Quiet whispers, shared observations, or subtle humor lighten the burden. Sailors, despite danger and isolation, form bonds that sustain them. Trust is essential. Without it, life aboard a pirate ship would be unbearable. Toward the end of the watch, the horizon begins to lighten slightly in the east. The faint glow of approaching dawn signals a shift in duty. The night watch prepares to descend below deck for rest. The incoming crew rises, stretching and yawning, ready to assume the watch. The transition is smooth, ritualized, and vital. Even as the night ends, the ship continues its journey. The ocean remains vast, mysterious, and demanding. Life aboard a pirate ship is never easy, but it is alive with motion, skill, and constant attention. The routines of night watch, vigilance, observation, maintenance, protect the crew and preserve the fragile order that allows them to survive. In the next chapter, we will follow the crew into dawn, exploring how the first light brings renewed labor, planning, and anticipation for the challenges ahead. The day begins again, but the lessons and experiences of night remain deeply ingrained in every sailor aboard. For now, imagine the cool night air, the faint shimmer of stars on the waves, the gentle rocking of the ship, and the quiet focus of men maintaining their floating world through darkness. Life at sea is never still. It only moves with the rhythm of the sun, moon, and endless water. Chapter 12: Dawn and the Morning Shift. The first light of dawn creeps slowly over the horizon. It begins as a thin line of pale gold, gradually stretching into soft pinks and purples, and finally spilling across the ocean in gentle waves of color. The night watch, having guarded the ship through hours of darkness, begins to relax. Eyes, once strained from vigilance, now soften with the promise of daylight. The incoming crew climbs onto the deck, stretching stiff muscles, blinking at the soft morning light. Yawns are exchanged, greetings whispered, and positions are passed quietly. The night watch descends below deck, sliding into hammocks for a few precious hours of sleep. Even pirates, hardened and lawless as they might be, depend on rest. A sleepy sailor is a dangerous sailor. Morning is busy. The fresh shift begins by checking the ship's condition. Ropes and sails are inspected, knots tightened, and rigging adjusted. Every line, pulley, and block has a role. Even small mistakes can lead to serious consequences, especially when the sea grows restless. Vigilance is a constant companion of life aboard a pirate ship. The helmsman maintains the course while keeping one eye on the horizon. In the early light, distant clouds and faint shapes are easier to see. Perhaps there's a merchant ship to the east, a navy patrol to the west, or an uncharted reef nearby. Every day, sailors must read the sea and sky, anticipating obstacles before they become threats. Meanwhile, the carpenter and bosun begin their rounds. The carpenter taps the wooden hull, checking for weak spots or leaks. The bosun inspects rigging and equipment, making sure nothing has loosened overnight. Cannons are lightly oiled and prepared, just in case a fight erupts. Even on calm days, readiness is essential. Breakfast preparations begin below deck. Porridge, salted meat, hardtack, and dried peas are reheated or boiled. The cook moves efficiently, aware that hunger is a motivator but also a potential source of grumbling if meals are insufficient. Bowls are passed, small jokes exchanged, and the smell of warm food spreads across the deck. Even hardened pirates find comfort in a hot meal. Rations are carefully measured. Fresh water is precious. Too little and morale suffers. Too much and supplies dwindle before reaching port. Hardtack may be dry and unappealing, but it lasts. Salted meat provides protein. Peas and beans add variety, however minimal. Pirates understand the balance between sustenance and survival. After eating, cleanup is swift. Bowls and utensils are rinsed in seawater, buckets are stacked, and scraps are gathered to keep rats at bay. The galley is tidied, and the cook prepares for the next meal. Every task, no matter how mundane, has a purpose. The smooth operation of the ship. By mid-morning, work shifts toward the maintenance of sails and rigging. Sailors climb into the rigging, barefoot or with minimal footwear for grip. Canvas is inspected for rips and tears, seams stitched if necessary. Ropes are tested and coiled neatly. Every detail matters. A frayed line could snap under wind stress. A loose sail could catch unexpectedly. Attention to detail is survival. The quartermaster supervises quietly, checking the crew's diligence. Rules are enforced with a firm hand, but also with pragmatism. Discipline aboard a pirate ship is practical. Too harsh, and morale suffers. Too lax, and danger multiplies. A balance of respect, fear, and fairness keeps the crew cohesive. Amid all this labor, small moments of camaraderie emerge. Jokes are whispered as men haul ropes. Observations about the horizon are exchanged. A dropped tool might cause quiet laughter. Even in hard work, pirates find ways to sustain morale. Human connection remains essential. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. Waves rise and fall, rocking the ship gently. The wind fills the sails, tugging at ropes, and the hull creaks under constant motion. Each sound, each movement, is a part of daily life. Sailors learn to interpret every subtle change. A shift in the wind, a distant bird, a ripple in the water. These can be hints of opportunity or danger. Time passes. The day begins to warm. Sweat runs down the sailors' backs. Muscles ache from repeated tasks. Yet the rhythm of the ship continues. Labor, vigilance, observation, each element repeats in a continuous cycle. Routine is not monotonous but necessary. It ensures survival, cohesion, and readiness. By late morning, the ship is fully awake. Every sailor is in motion, every sail adjusted, every line secured. The deck smells of salt, wood, and warm sun-baked ropes. The ship feels alive, responding to wind, tide, and the steady hands of its crew. Pirates, for all their reputation of chaos and lawlessness, operate a vessel that is remarkably orderly and coordinated. In the next chapter, we will explore the midday activities, more maintenance, leisure for those with brief free time, and the ongoing observation of the sea for opportunities and threats. The day progresses in cycles, and life aboard the pirate ship continues in its relentless, purposeful rhythm. For now, picture the morning light on the deck, men moving with efficiency, the smell of warm food fading into salt and sun-baked wood, and the ship sliding steadily through the vast, endless ocean. Life at sea is never idle. It only shifts between duty, vigilance, and brief moments of respite. Chapter 13: Midday Tasks and Small Freedoms. As the sun reaches its peak, blazing high above the horizon, life aboard the pirate ship settles into a rhythm both relentless and strangely predictable. Midday brings a mix of labor, minor leisure, and constant vigilance. For the crew, this is the time to maintain the ship, care for their own needs, and quietly observe the sea for both opportunity and danger. The first focus of midday is always maintenance. The deck, constantly battered by salt water and the sun, requires attention. Sailors scrub planks with holystones, push buckets of seawater across the deck, and rinse away accumulated grime. Sweat drips into the water and onto raw knuckles, but no one complains aloud. Work is a shared burden, a necessity that keeps the vessel afloat and the crew alive. Above deck, the sails demand continuous inspection. The rigging hums softly in the wind, ropes stretching and twisting with the motion of the ship. Sailors climb into the rigging, barefoot for better grip, running hands along canvas to detect tears or weak spots. A single overlooked rip could turn a routine voyage into disaster if a sudden gust catches the sail unexpectedly. Every knot, every line, every stitch has meaning. The carpenter below deck works steadily. He checks the hull for leaks, taps on planks for weak spots, and inspects the bilge for signs of water accumulation. Even minor damage can escalate quickly in the open ocean. The bilge pump is tested regularly, and any barrels showing signs of leaks are shifted, replaced, or repaired. Every day is a small battle against the sea's quiet destruction. Weapons maintenance is another essential task. Cannons, pistols, and cutlasses require regular attention. Rust forms quickly in the salt air. Powder must be dry. Blades must be sharpened. Even if no battle looms, preparation cannot stop. Pirate ship, unready for combat, is a vulnerable ship. And in an environment where danger lurks unseen, vulnerability can be fatal. Amid the work, some sailors find moments of small leisure. A hand carving a figure from a scrap of wood. A whispered joke shared while coiling rope. A sailor humming quietly while adjusting a sail. These brief moments of reprieve keep spirits high. On a ship where monotony can sap morale, humor and creativity are essential lifelines. Food and water remain central concerns. Midday meals are often simpler than breakfast, sometimes just dried peas or a biscuit and a cup of water. Rations are carefully monitored. Fresh water is scarce, and hoarding is strictly forbidden. The quartermaster watches over distribution, ensuring fairness. A pirate who breaks these rules risks punishment or worse, alienating the trust of the crew, which can be far more dangerous than any storm. Observation of the sea is continuous. Even during periods of labor, eyes scan the horizon. Birds flying low can indicate land nearby. Changes in the color of the water hint at underwater hazards or shifts in currents. A distant sail may be a merchant vessel or a Navy ship hunting pirates. Experienced sailors read every subtle sign. Opportunity and danger often arrive quietly, and only vigilance ensures that the crew can respond in time. The sun climbs higher, heating the deck and stiffening muscles already weary from labor. Sweat pours down backs, drips into eyes, and softens calluses. But pirates are hardened to discomfort. The constant movement of the ship, the rhythm of sails and ropes, and the repetition of tasks become almost meditative. Labor at sea is exhausting, yet it carries a strange satisfaction. The ship moves, progress continues, and life aboard remains orderly. Even amid routine, leadership is evident. The captain and quartermaster move along the deck, observing, instructing, and occasionally sharing a dry joke. Discipline is enforced quietly but firmly. Pirates may seem chaotic to outsiders, but inside the ship, a balance of authority, cooperation, and mutual respect holds the crew together. By mid-afternoon, some sailors steal brief moments of freedom. A quiet sit on the deck, back against a coil of rope. A quick chat with a comrade about rumors of distant ports or upcoming raids. A glance at the horizon, imagining land far away. These small freedoms are treasured. They break the monotony and remind men that life at sea, while harsh, is still theirs to live. The ocean itself seems to shift with the time of day. Waves sparkle in the sun, wind patterns change, and gulls circle above. The pirate ship responds to these subtle variations. Sails adjusted, rudder steered, ropes tightened. Every motion is calculated. The ship is alive in its own way, and the crew has learned to move in harmony with it. Meanwhile, minor disputes occasionally arise. A sailor may complain about a damaged tool or a misplaced barrel. The quartermaster intervenes quickly, applying rules fairly. Stealing or hoarding, even during periods of rest, is forbidden. Discipline aboard a pirate ship is practical and consistent. Survival requires cooperation more than fear. The day stretches onward, labor interspersed with brief respite. The crew works, observes, and maintains the delicate balance of ship, sea, and survival. Every plank scrubbed, every rope checked, every sail adjusted contributes to the greater purpose, keeping the ship afloat, the crew alive, and the pirate life sustainable. As the afternoon wanes, shadows grow long. The temperature cools slightly, and the golden light begins to fade. Sailors finish their tasks, coiling ropes, securing sails, and inspecting the deck one final time before the evening. The rhythm of the day, relentless yet ordered, begins to shift toward evening, bringing the next stage of life aboard the ship, preparation for nightfall. In the next chapter, we will explore the evening in detail, how the crew transitions from labor to observation, prepares for night watches, and secures the ship for the dark hours ahead. The rhythm of pirate life continues, unbroken, blending work, vigilance, and fleeting moments of camaraderie in a world defined by wind, waves, and wood. For now, imagine standing on the deck under the bright midday sun, the salty breeze on your face, ropes in hand, the gentle sway beneath your feet. Life at sea is demanding, structured, and unforgiving, yet every motion, every task, every glance toward the horizon serves a purpose. This is the heartbeat of a pirate ship, relentless, disciplined, and alive. Chapter 14: Evening Tasks and Preparing for Night. As the sun begins its descent, spilling golden light across the waves, the pirate ship shifts from the relentless rhythm of midday labor to the careful, deliberate tasks of evening. On a 17th-century pirate ship, evening was a transitional period, a time to prepare the vessel and crew for the darkness ahead, and to take stock of the day's progress. The first task is always securing the deck. Sailors move quickly but methodically, checking that all ropes are coiled, knots are tight, and loose items are stowed away. A rolling barrel or a slack line in the dark could cause injury, or worse. Even as shadows stretch across the planks, every movement is intentional. The crew knows that the safety of the night depends on preparation. Sails are adjusted to catch the changing wind, ensuring the ship continues its course steadily into the evening. Those in the rigging work in pairs, calling instructions to one another over the hum of the wind through ropes. Each adjustment is precise. Even a small error could catch a gust of wind wrong, sending the ship off balance. By evening, every sailor has become attuned to the vessel's subtle movements, able to anticipate shifts before they occur. The carpenter inspects the hull one final time before the dark. He taps each plank, checking for signs of weakness or leaks, while the bosun moves among the crew, making sure each task is complete. Cannons are lightly polished and powder stores checked. Weapons are secured, ready for the night in case danger arises. On a pirate ship, threat could appear at any moment, and readiness is constant. Below deck, the cook begins preparing the evening meal. It is simple, salted meat, hardtack, dried peas, but nourishing. The smell of cooking rises to the deck, mingling with the salty breeze. Pirates eat quickly, conserving energy and ensuring they are alert for the night ahead. Food is as much a necessity for morale as it is for strength. Hunger is a constant reminder of the harshness of life at sea. As the meal concludes, cleanup is swift. Bowls are rinsed in seawater, utensils stored, and scraps gathered to keep rats at bay. Even minor negligence could allow pests to spread or food to spoil, so discipline is practical. The quartermaster oversees these routines, ensuring that order is maintained even as the day fades. Observation remains crucial. Sailors scan the horizon for signs of other ships, changes in the weather, or distant land. The ocean, calm or turbulent, carries secrets in its waves and clouds. Birds flying low may indicate nearby shores. Dark clouds can herald storms. Every detail matters. Even in moments that seem mundane, the crew is alert. As the light dims, lanterns are lit across the deck, their flickering glow providing just enough illumination to work safely without signaling the ship's presence to distant vessels. Shadows dance across planks and rigging, and the wooden ship seems alive in the shifting light. Sailors adjust, moving carefully to avoid tripping, their actions deliberate yet efficient. During this time, small moments of camaraderie persist. Quiet jokes are exchanged while coiling ropes. Observations about the day's labor or rumors of treasure are whispered. These moments may be brief, but they reinforce bonds. Trust among pirates is essential. Cooperation and morale are survival tools as vital as weapons or sails. The captain and quartermaster walk the deck, surveying the crew and preparing for the night watch. The captain's role is more strategic. He sets the course, evaluates potential threats, and makes decisions that may require immediate action. The quartermaster enforces rules, distributes tasks, and ensures fairness. Together, they maintain order in a world that outsiders might assume is chaotic. By late evening, the first sailors of the night watch take their positions. They stand vigilant, scanning the dark horizon, listening to the subtle creaks of the ship and the distant sounds of the sea. The incoming crew prepares for vigilance, while those who have worked through the day retreat below deck for a few hours of rest. Sleep is precious, and a brief nap can mean the difference between alertness and disaster. The ocean at night feels infinite, silent yet alive. Waves lap against the hull. Wind shifts gently, tugging at sails and ropes. Every sound is amplified in the dark, demanding attention. Sailors move quietly, maintaining routine without disturbing those below. Life aboard the ship, even in darkness, is structured and continuous. Evening on a pirate ship is also reflective. Pirates, hardened and pragmatic, occasionally pause to watch the horizon, listen to the waves, or think of distant lands. Though the day has been full of labor, preparation, and vigilance, these moments connect men to the vastness around them and remind them why they endure the hardships of life at sea. In the next chapter, we will follow the crew through the night, observing how pirates navigate darkness, maintain readiness, and survive long hours on the open ocean. The night brings both monotony and peril, yet also quiet beauty, a different rhythm of life on a pirate ship. For now, imagine the deck glowing with lantern light, sailors moving deliberately, the scent of salted meat and sea salt in the air, and the ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. Life aboard the pirate ship never truly stops. It only shifts in rhythm, preparing for the hours of darkness to come. Chapter 15: The First Night Watch. Night has fully fallen. The horizon is now a seamless line of black, blending with the dark, endless ocean. Stars prick the sky like tiny lanterns, and the silver glow of the moon casts soft light over the ship, revealing the sway of the deck and the creaking of the rigging. On a 17th-century pirate ship, the night watch begins in earnest, a time both tense and strangely meditative. The day crew has retreated below deck, sliding into hammocks for a few hours of sleep. The incoming sailors take their positions on deck, alert and quiet. Every step, every movement is deliberate. Fatigue presses against them, but even a single lapse can have disastrous consequences. Darkness amplifies every sound. The slap of a wave against the hull, the faint creak of a loose plank, the whistle of wind through the rigging. Pirates know these sounds, and they interpret them like an unspoken language of survival. The helmsman grips the wheel firmly, guiding the ship along its course by starlight and compass. He is responsible for maintaining direction, anticipating subtle shifts in wind and current, and adjusting sails to keep the ship steady. Steering by night requires more than skill. It requires patience, intuition, and a calm mind. One miscalculation, even a minor one, can send the ship off course, risking reefs, shoals, or unseen hazards. Sailors patrol the deck in pairs, inspecting ropes, coiling lines, and checking the rigging. The sails snap softly in the wind, ropes hum with tension, and the wooden planks creak with every step. These sounds, constant yet subtle, are the heartbeat of the ship at night. Every rope, Every pulley, every knot has meaning. Even a small mistake could turn routine movement into catastrophe. Observation is continuous. The ocean is deceptively calm, yet it hides dangers. A distant sail may appear as a shadow against the stars. Perhaps a merchant ship ripe for capture. Perhaps a naval patrol hunting pirates. Changes in wave patterns may indicate reefs or underwater obstacles. Birds flying low can hint at nearby land. The watchful pirates interpret these signs, responding quickly to threats or opportunities. Below deck, the carpenter and boatswain remain vigilant, quietly tending to the ship's structure and equipment. The carpenter checks for leaks and weak planks, tapping the wood for subtle cracks that could worsen in a storm. The boatswain ensures all ropes, pulleys, and blocks are secure, listening for unusual sounds that could signal wear or failure. The night is quieter, but the labor continues. Vigilance never sleeps. Fatigue is a constant challenge. Eyes grow heavy, muscles ache from a day of work, and the gentle rocking of the ship lulls some men into drowsiness. Sailors pace the deck, adjust sails, or run fingers along ropes to stay alert. Small, practical routines, tightening a line, testing a block, checking a sail, serve a dual purpose: maintaining the ship and keeping the mind engaged. Even boredom has a role. It sharpens awareness, forcing sailors to notice the subtle details others might miss. The quartermaster moves quietly among the crew, enforcing discipline and ensuring that rules are followed. Night does not excuse laziness or negligence. Stealing, hoarding, or neglecting duty could result in punishment or loss of trust, far worse than a few lashes. Pirates, while lawless on land, adhere strictly to the articles aboard ship. Cooperation is survival, and trust is as precious as gold. Despite the tension, moments of quiet companionship appear. A whisper to a partner, a joke about the cook's morning porridge, or a shared observation about the stars keeps spirits alive. Pirates may live a life of danger, but camaraderie is the invisible rope holding them together. Laughter, even in the shadows, is a small rebellion against fatigue and fear. The moon rises higher, illuminating the waves and glinting on the polished wood of the deck. Phosphorescent plankton sometimes sparkles in the ship's wake, like tiny stars scattered across the water. Sailors occasionally pause to admire the strange beauty of the night ocean, a fleeting moment of wonder amid constant responsibility. Even hardened pirates find solace in these quiet glimpses of the natural world. Hours pass. Midnight approaches. The watch rotates slowly, men trading positions to maintain alertness. Conversation is minimal. Most speak in whispers, conserving energy and keeping ears open for subtle signs of danger. Every man on deck knows the importance of his role. Even the smallest oversight, a rope left loose, a sail left unchecked, a misread star, can have catastrophic consequences in the darkness. The captain occasionally appears, moving silently across the deck. He surveys the horizon, checks the crew's readiness, and adjusts the course as needed. His presence is calm, authoritative, but not oppressive. Decisions may need to be made quickly. An approaching ship, an unexpected storm, or a sudden change in wind. Leadership is subtle, guiding the ship and crew with experience rather than force. The night also brings reflection. Sailors think of home, of past adventures, and of dreams they hope to chase once the next raid or voyage ends. Life at sea is harsh and unrelenting, but it offers freedom and camaraderie. The rhythm of the night, the steady rocking of the ship, the wind in the sails, the quiet tasks of vigilance, provide structure and purpose. By the end of the watch, the horizon begins to lighten slightly. The faint glow of approaching dawn signals the end of the night's labor. The outgoing watch climbs down, stretching stiff limbs, and the day crew rises to take the deck once more. Sleep and labor exchange in a continuous cycle, maintaining the fragile balance of life aboard the ship. Even after the night, the lessons of darkness linger. Pirates are attentive, resilient, and skilled. The ship moves smoothly because of constant labor, discipline, and observation. Trust binds the crew together, and preparation ensures survival. Life at sea is dangerous, unpredictable, and exhausting, but also structured, purposeful, and alive in every creak of wood and snap of rope. In the next chapter, we will follow the crew as dawn breaks fully, exploring the first light of a new day, the challenges of fatigue, and the anticipation of opportunities that await on the horizon. Each day aboard a pirate ship repeats this rhythm of labor, vigilance, and fleeting rest, each repetition forging the skills and bonds that allow these men to endure the relentless sea. For now, imagine standing on the deck in the deep of night. Stars overhead, lanterns flickering softly, waves lapping against the hull, and a team of pirates moving silently, alert and alive. Life aboard a pirate ship never truly stops. It only shifts with the rhythm of day, night, and the endless ocean surrounding them.